If you're a small business owner looking to grow or expand your business, check out OnDeck Business Loans. OnDeck offers business loans online from $5,000 to $500,000, and their simple application process only takes 10 minutes. Unlike banks, they'll give you a decision quickly, and funding is as fast as one day. Get a free consultation with an OnDeck loan advisor. Visit ondeck.com/podcast.
This is the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. Boundaries or burnout, you make the choice. Here's your host, Michael Levitt. Welcome to the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. It's Michael here, and today I've got Katie Trauth Taylor on the line. Hey, Katie, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you, Michael?
I am great. You are the CEO of Untold Content, and you work with thought leaders. And one of the things that I know about thought leaders is their thoughts are bouncing around in their heads, but oftentimes they really struggle with getting those words out of their heads and out into the world. So tell us a little bit about you and how you help those individuals get their messaging out.
Absolutely. So yes, I'm Katie Trauth Taylor, and at Untold, that's exactly what we do. We partner with subject matter experts and we help them pull their insights upward. You know, our areas of expertise align with scientific and technical and medical fields in particular. And in those kinds of worlds, these technical experts were oftentimes, studying at the lab bench or working with patients or trying to lead a business unit, and can get so focused on the particularities of their work and making sure that everything that they do is intelligent and evidence-based and well-researched. But sometimes looking up from that work and being able to share it with other stakeholders to move the needle forward, or share it with people outside of their unit, or even direct to consumers or to the general public, they really struggle with that sometimes. And so the goal of our consultation is that we help them pull those insights upward into thought leadership content. And that involves scripting for videos and presentations. It involves writing white papers in collaboration with subject matter experts, helping them get publications, whether those are trade publications or peer-reviewed publications. We're essentially creating thought leadership content in partnership with people whose ideas really deserve to be shared.
That's awesome, and it really gets the messaging out, because I've encountered many people throughout my life and my career where they are definitely thought leaders in the space that they're in, but they struggle with the messaging. They don't know, what platform to use, whether they go social media or they go other types of marketing avenues, and they struggle with it, and their message doesn't get out to the audiences that need to hear it. So what are some of the techniques you use to help those people really get that messaging out, and more importantly, I would think, is coach them so they're easier to work with, to get the content out, because you're an expert in getting this stuff out, but you're not necessarily an expert in the thought leadership of that individual. So I'm curious how you get those two worlds to collide and create something magical.
I love that question. And for us at Untold, it's all about research. It's about supporting the expert or that thought leader in trying to contextualize their insights. And by contextualize, I mean help them see the broader conversations that are going on in their discipline. So that might look like a literature review, where we're helping a behavioral health specialist who says, I'm practicing mindfulness with my patients, and I know that it has a clinical evidence base for it, and I'm aware of that, and I've read some journal articles about it, but could you help me make sure that I am fully aware of the conversations going on about mindfulness, not just in the academic peer-reviewed literature, but also in news and on podcasts? What are people saying about this, and how are they living it out in their everyday lives? And so our team of researchers will come in and pull all of that content together and present it back to the expert and say, what are your thoughts on this now that you see the larger sort of content landscape, is what we call it when we do that kind of reporting. But what do you think about where do you stand, and what gaps? We sort of help them identify gaps and openings where they can join the conversation or challenge the status quo with their insights, and essentially create a roadmap for being able to articulate where the impacts can be and where future innovations might lie.
So when you're working with someone that's been struggling and getting their messaging out, and all of a sudden that light goes off for them, and they see, what they have been, thinking about in their head for so long, actually get out there, and they start seeing, a return on investment, and, their content getting out there, and, they're getting, the phone calls and the emails, and, doing emails or writing other additional posts and things like that. What's the common reaction you see with those people?
I think that most people who are in leadership positions are already accustomed to having the respect of their peers, but it's when they're moving the needle forward with people who don't hold their same expertise, or who are the ultimate stakeholders or decision makers, whether that's the customer or whether that's board members or someone sort of in an adjacent field that has some kind of influence on their success. And the reactions that we see, it's one of those things where I think it's a sense of relief, and it's a sense of being, I think one of the biggest reactions that we get is, wow, I didn't know I could move the system in this way. So it's almost a system level reaction that happens when someone is able to share what they know in an impactful and informative way that engages people. And so one example I can share is we worked with a specialty chemical company, and chemists, as we all kind of remember from probably high school chemistry, or if you took some in college, that chemists work in an invisible world. Most people don't see the kinds of, the atomic level that chemists are working at. And it's hard for them to take what they're doing in the lab and articulate it in a way that can help the everyday person feel inspired or even understand what the heck they're talking about. And so we partnered with a specialty chemical company, and we supported them in pulling together a few different materials, a technical poster, a technical paper, and a video, and a social media campaign to share a new innovation that they made that was like a very environmentally friendly chemical that was going to completely transform the energy sector. And we supported them in creating the story around that and how they articulated it. And they ended up winning the International Polyurethane Innovation Award. And it's because their competitors, the two other really large chemical companies they were up against for that award, stuck with technical language, and it was not compelling. It wasn't able to really communicate the impacts and show how it was going to move things forward. And so if you can make that kind of an impact, then that client is not only getting more business opportunities, but they're also able to reveal to the general public the ways that science can help us transform the future. And so it's a human impact and it's a business impact, and that's really, I think, the golden place to be.
That's amazing, and again, it highlights what good content writing can do for a thought leader or a business or an organization or scientists or you name it. And a funny story on the science thing. I was supposed to lead a panel discussion actually later this week in Copenhagen on burnout amongst the scientists, and my schedule unfortunately wouldn't allow me to lead the panel. But what I ended up doing is I created content for the scientist. And I had to kind of go the reverse, where, normally, you have scientists and they're trying to get their messages out to, common people that can understand. I had to make my content more complex so they would be able to read it, which was an interesting thing. But the people that took over the panel for me were quite thankful for it, and they were I think pleasantly surprised that I was able to reverse engineer my content in a way that would be applicable to science. And science was a class that I think the only reason why I passed that class was the teacher did not want to see me again. So I've never confirmed that with him, but that's my hunch. But statute of limitations on that, so they can't take away my high school diploma now. So.
I love it. It's hilarious. It reminds me of a memory. We were working on a technical presentation for a scientific company, and they said, this is too well designed. It's too beautiful. You need to make it look far more plain, or we won't glean the respect of our colleagues. So it's interesting. You learn those nuances of different fields, and you also, I think, based on practices of good user design and best practices in professional writing, we try to nudge our clients to take more risks and to change their industries if they are stuck in a sort of predictable or boring way of doing storytelling. We try to push those limits a little bit.
And it's good because, and you hinted at something there where, I don't want to say they're competition, but their colleagues are saying, wait a minute, this is above and beyond, what the rest of us are doing. So they want you to stay, with everybody else. But in this day and age, the organizations that have a leg up on everyone else are the ones that are getting their message out, and it's being seen because, with social media and everything else, it's very, very difficult to differentiate yourself from the 500 or 5,000 or even 5 other organizations that are doing similar things to you. So I guess that is a big thing that you do when you speak with thought leaders on, okay, how can we take what you're saying, make it applicable to your audience, but make it different enough where it catches their attention. So I'm guessing that's one of the big exercises you do. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's got to be crucial for stuff. So of all the things that your organization does, what is the one thing that you enjoy doing the most? Because you do a lot of stuff. It's a great organization, but I'm just curious, between the content marketing and the grant writing and research and everything else you're doing, what's the one thing that you are most proud of as far as the work that you do?
Well, as CEO, the thing I'm most proud of is the people that are part of Untold Content and how we've been able to grow. So, being able to hire, the focus in terms of the talent that we recruit at our company is that everyone has master's or PhD level training in a technical discipline and in writing in particular. So that's incredible to be able to recruit and attract talent and people who have taught writing at the university level for several years, but have also served as consultants out in industry, whether that's, nonprofit, public sector, or private sector. Our team touches all of those different areas. And so for me, the most exciting thing is pulling together that team. But in terms of what we deliver, this year in particular, we claimed for our own content marketing, we claimed this year to be the year of innovation storytelling. And that's been our major focus this year. And we have recruited and asked our community to nominate thought leaders and experts that we can interview about innovation and ask them why storytelling matters in innovation. And that has been, I think, something I'm really proud of this year. If you take a look, you can take a look at our blog, untoldcontent.com/blog, or you can search #UntoldInnovation on any social media platform, and you'll see these interviews. And we've been able to interview some amazing people, heads of research at major airbag manufacturers and at techs, people who sit on the board of major tech innovation investing companies. And so, and the next few interviews that are going to come out, we've got people from Lego and Procter & Gamble and CVG Airport. It's amazing. We've pulled together kind of we've been able to really to talk with leaders in this space. And what we keep hearing from them is that storytelling is critical to the success of innovation, whether that's in a big company and you're trying to push forward sprint prototypes and get buy-in for them, or if you're in a startup and you're trying to just articulate your idea to investors or to potential clients. The work of innovation storytelling, I think, is the future. And as we continue to invest in growing innovation ecosystems, we're going to have to also support those innovators and being able to share their insights well, and to be able to articulate what kind of impact they can have on the future.
That's amazing. And I wholeheartedly agree with you on the storytelling aspect of things, because as you know, the various generations that are working now, and we've got our baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, and now Gen Z. You've got all of these groups working together, and they have dynamic needs on things. But one commonality is every generation connects with a story, and a story of why an organization does what they do, whether they are an airbag manufacturer, or they're a scientist, or they're someone that is working with AI in a way to make the world better without taking away jobs and opportunities for people. There's stories behind it, and every story is unique. And when you can capture those types of events with people, all of a sudden it resonates, and then it creates what we like to call that know, like, and trust factor. So if you're a consumer and you want to buy something or go with an organization or get products or services from an organization, you're going to look at a few of them. But when you see a story from one and it connects with you, you're like, okay, I know this person. I feel like I know them a little bit, and I trust them based on their story and their background. It's going to benefit their business, and it's going to benefit society, because it puts a more human element into the work that we all do.
Yes. And, I think we oftentimes think of thought leaders as these solo consultants in the world, that they're sort of independent people on their own giving public speaking engagements. And that is true. That's a wonderful depiction of a thought leader. But I think CEOs and people running organizations need to consider how their organizations can be thought leading organizations. And one major way we've been able to kind of work with clients to help them get to that point is by helping them identify the people inside their organization who have stories to share, who have a desire to be putting out content and putting their name behind it, and who, of course, have worthy insights. And if an organization can identify the individuals within them who can kind of carry that torch, that is something they should really be building into. We've been working for several years with a healthcare startup out of Silicon Valley, and we've been able to work with all of their different clinical subject matter experts and really pull up 4 or 5 who are just incredibly talented and who have a desire to be putting their research out there and to be spokespeople for the organization. And so we've been able to see their voices in LinkedIn articles and in trade publications for healthcare HR. And now we're starting to land some peer-reviewed publications with them. And so, I think organizations can also be considering how can we be a thought-leading organization and not only just think of thought leadership as an isolated consultant type of position.
That's amazing. And again, it's going to differentiate organizations that have really good content that is, created by organizations like yours, especially with the background. You have PhD level. But that's not a startup. That's not, nothing against people that are just out of university or college. But you walk the walk. The things how content resonates with organizations and with people, and the right things to say to match up with what the thought leader is trying to portray in such a way that it does the storytelling, and it just takes organizations and connections to a completely different level.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, and that kind of training that we've gone through as professional writing. At that level, we're able to help an organization not only create that robust content strategy, but also provide the research to show, hey, here's what your competitors are doing, and here's what your industry or your discipline says, and here are those gaps and the ways that you can project your voice and amplify your voice within those gaps and identify your differentiators.
Yep. No, it's awesome work, and I highly encourage every thought leader to reach out to you. So how can people find out more about you, your organization, and the awesome stuff you're doing?
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk with you. This podcast is incredibly inspiring to me as CEO. So thank you for all of the interview work that you do.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I have a blast doing it, and I get to talk to incredible people like yourself that's making a dent in the universe, and that's a wonderful opportunity. So we're some links that people can get in touch with the organization and the blog and everything else.
Yeah, so we are on every social media platform as Untold Content. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Katie Trauth Taylor. And you can visit us at untoldcontent.com. Check out our writing training programs that we have, where we come on site and deliver writing workshops to empower your teams to write with more confidence and write faster. We have an online course devoted to that as well called Wordsmith, so you can check out our courses. And of course, our services, where we're working hand in hand with your organization to produce the writing.
Awesome. And I'll have all that information in the show notes. Katie, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate you and awesome work you're doing.
Thanks, Michael.
Until next time, everybody, be well.
Hey, it's Michael again. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're like many people, you're dealing with some significant stress and possibly approaching burnout. I know how you feel. In 2009, my burnout led to a year of worst-case scenarios. I do not want that to happen to you. If you go to breakfastleadership.com, you can register for a free webinar on burnout prevention, as well as get a free checklist to have successful mornings. Start off each day the right way. Again, that's at breakfastleadership.com. Also, since you are a loyal podcast listener, I'm asking you to like, rate, and review my podcast on iTunes. I look at all the reviews and appreciate your comments, and it helps other potential listeners discover the content I have on the show. I appreciate you, and thanks again for listening.